Hello and welcome to your drawing your image on the canvas and then like just a bunch of things for starting your painting. All right, number one, if you are done with your practice, then you're going to clean out your palette. So I would leave this setting out overnight. So you can just leave it. You could put it outside actually if you don't think it would get lost. And you want the paint to dry out. And so then you can peel off. And if you have nails or you don't have nails, you can use a butter knife to get it started. And then you can just totally peel off the paint. And so voila, those of you that have some OCD tendencies love this. And then you can really see that it's plasticky. This is the acrylic part. So you can clean out your palette. And then you're going to mix up your colors for your painting in those extra containers. But then in here, I would refill all the colors from like these containers. I would refill that first before you mix up your colors. That way you have all those colors to make all the different analogous colors for the technique that you choose. So again, you can kind of just peel it out. And if it's not totally dry, it's probably a little, oh, that's cool. It's a little still sticky. So like this stuff I couldn't really get off very well. So you can actually spray it with any kind of cleaner, and you can use a scrubber. But I would definitely not just wash wet paint down your sink. It will dry in your sink. It will clog your sink. I mean, like maybe not this much, but over time it will. But you can just easily peel it out. Okay, so clean out your palette and then refill all of your colors. And I probably put white in the center so you have a lot more white. We tend to use a lot of white, you know, to lighten everything. Okay. So then you're going to draw out your final draft. I'm doing a small, mine's pretty small because I want to actually be able to finish it, a sunflower painting for my friend who is like vice president of an organization for teen dating violence, and the sunflower is their symbol. So this is to go in her office. I looked at a picture of a sunflower I didn't like the leaves on it, so I got different leaves for it. And then for the background, I'm just going to do like a lighter value fading down to darker. So you don't need very much detail. I just started drawing and I was just thinking that I don't need all this. I'm just going to cover that anyway. But I did draw each of the petals. I don't necessarily need the lines, but I am going to try to kind of give myself a couple guidelines when painting. So you're going to draw out a simple contour outline because remember, all of your detail is going to come from the paint. All right, then you want to select your color scheme. So I'm going to do somewhat traditional with like the yellow petals for the sunflower. The center is going to be like brownishy kind of purple with some red and some pink in it. And then the leaves, you know, greenish. The background for contrast with the yellow, I'm going to go more purplish, and then I'm going to fade it down to maybe like a darker pink to contrast with the green. So you should have a contrasting background if you're only doing like a single object or item. Or for me, like this is going to be lighter in value up here, so therefore I'm going to do a darker background, and then these will be more medium to dark value, so that I'm going to do a lighter background. So I'm going to transition or fade. For techniques, I'm going to pretty much do like a mixture between these two, and maybe kind of a mixture between these two in some areas. But I definitely want visible brush strokes. I'm thinking more Van Gogh in the center of the flower, and of course like some parts of the leaves would look good and petals would look good with this. But in general, I'm going to kind of stick with a post-impressionism technique. I would say I would love to do this in pointillism, but I don't have time. So think of how much time you have, how much time it took you for these techniques, and then like what do you want to do for your actual painting. And if you're not quite sure what colors to use, I mean, I could do like monochromatic purple, where it's all just different varieties of purple. For this one, I would say this is like mostly warmer colors, or maybe you want to stick with cooler colors. I would just think of like analogous colors that you're going to use within your color scheme, because everybody's using analogous colors in some way, somehow. All right, now you're ready to mix your colors. So I'm gonna review color mixing, and I have these empty containers. You have 5. So I'd think of your 5 major colors that you need. So for me, it would be like a purple, a pink, a yellow, a brownishy purple, and a green. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you only want to use 4 containers, that's fine. You can return whatever you don't use. And I would like it if you guys could return whatever ones you don't use. So just think of your major colors. Major colors. All right. So I would definitely fill back up your palette first and then mix your colors. And you're going to mix a little bit more color than you need. And I would leave a little bit left in these containers as well. All right. So I'm going to do... like a darker purple and a medium-ish pink. So those 2 are ready. For purple, I would definitely recommend your darker red, the cool red. And I usually mix the 2 blues. You can use plastic spoons if it's easier to kind of scoop out the paint, or I still have my sticks. And we're definitely going to use them for paint stirring anyway. Okay, so for my purple, I'm still going to start with like a little bit of white because I don't want it to be super, super dark because I want to be able to go darker for variety. And I don't have a ton of background, so I feel like just covering, like I would probably mix up like this much in the bottom of my container for my background because I don't have a ton of background happening. So think of like how much space is that going to take up, that color? So how much would you actually need? All right, I'm going to add white to my next one. So I'm going to do a pink. So obviously I want to start with my lightest color. So I need white and red to make pink. And you probably, for me, it's going to be like a medium light. So I'm going to add a little bit more white than I did before. Yeah, a spoon might be a little bit easier for you guys. And again, it's still a small area, so I don't need a ton, but I'm mixing up probably a little bit more than we did for our Art 1-2 paintings. Smash that on the side. And I have my paper towels ready to go to wipe off my stick. Okay. Then, I'm gonna do purple first actually. So I'm mixing up a darker purple. So I'm making a tone of purple and a tint of red. Just gonna leave that stick in here because I'm gonna make up the pink one too. Whoa, that's super full. Okay. I apologize, some of yours is super full. You have different levels of the pinks. I did literally pour them out of the jugs into each container for every single student. I'm not gonna need this stick again. Well, I will for stirring, but I will just wipe it off. For paint mixing. Okay, I'm gonna, for violet or purple, I mix the 2 blues. And then I also want to darken it, so I'm going to add a little bit of Violet's Complement, which is yellow. I bet that's probably fine. Okay, tiny bit of yellow, just a little bit. You can always add more, but it's harder to lighten than it is to darken. Maybe add a little bit more. Okay, so to make a darker color, use the color's complement. So if I'm using blue, add a little bit of orange. Plus, you know, I would mix the 2 blues, etc. The more you mix the colors, the less transparent they are, or see-through. Okay, so for my pink, I'm gonna definitely add red. I'm actually going to add both reds. So I'm going to wipe that off. Wipe off my paper towel. So at this point, you're going to use these sticks to mix up your colors. And then it's up to you if you want to keep them. I mean, I use them to like dish out, but at this point, like, we're towards the end anyway and starting your final painting. So if you want to use just your brush to dish it out, that's fine later on. Or, I mean, I have to, like at home, I'll just use like plastic spoons from, like when you get takeout food, or I have like camping plastic cutlery that I just use. You can use regular silverware, you just have to clean it right away so the paint doesn't stick to it. All right, so let's mix up, actually I'm gonna use my blue stick to mix up my purple, violet. It's like a dark blue violet. Okay, so if it's bluishy, then that means I need to add more red. So I'll come back to that. Let's see what my pink looks like. And if I wanted darker pink, I would add a little bit of green. Or if I wanted darker red, I would add a little bit of green. Actually, I like that pink, so that's looking pretty decent. I'm gonna scrape, so make sure that you scrape the sides really, really good. Stir, stir, stir. Scrape the side with your stick so you can get all of this mixed in. Stir, stir, stir. Actually, I'm gonna take, I don't need this much pink. I'm gonna take and add some to this one. And I'm going to add red to my purple because it's looking a little bluish. I feel like that's a good analogous color to use. So actually, I might scoop some of this out. I actually don't mind this color. I just don't want that to be my background color. So I'm gonna scoop some of this out and put it in my palette as an analogous color. So I just I put it in one of my clean little tray parts. So if you get like a good similar color or analogous, you could use it. Yes, that's a little bit more of the color that I was looking for. Like a more violety. Yeah, okay, much better. All right, so I'm gonna stir, 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 stir. Let me get rid of this stuff so I'm not getting paint all over the place. Okay, so for this extra, you can keep it. The only thing I would want back is like empty ones of these that you're not going to use. So I don't have to go to Smart and Final again and buy more. Okay, stir, 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 scrape. So I'm looking at like how much random color can I see along the edge? Okay, quite a bit. So use the flat edge of the stick to like you're cooking, like you're scraping the side. So I probably mixed a little bit more than I needed, but at least I have it just in case. And you're gonna take some of this out and make all of your analogous colors anyway. I wasn't quite sure how much paint to give you guys, so I definitely gave you more than you needed. Plus, then it would dry out like less quickly. I'm gonna keep my sticks just in case. Let me scrape that. Sure. Okay, so mix up all of your colors. So you don't have to watch me mix paint because I mean, how fun. Well, I guess for some of you, you do like that, but. So then I would mix up my yellow. So often when I'm mixing up yellow or orange, I would still start with a little bit of white. The yellow that we buy is a little bit opaque or semi-transparent. The yellow the yellow color is good, but the consistency of the paint is not. So definitely if you're making any kind of like light yellow or orange, or obviously any light color, start with a little bit of white and then add the yellow to it, because this yellow is almost transparent. Okay, so then you're ready to start painting your background colors. So just like we did for the sphere practice, you're gonna do a solid layer, get clean edges, clean lines, and oh, sorry, one other thing. If you have, like, if I had petals going off the painting, I would wrap it along the edge. So this is called a gallery wrapped canvas, meaning it does not have to be framed. It doesn't have staples on the edge. You can literally hang it on the wall just like that. So it's a little more expensive because they wrap it and then they staple it in the back. So continue like your petals over. And when you're painting, you're also going to paint the edges, because this type of canvas is not meant to be framed. So we pay a little extra money so that you wouldn't have to frame it. Okay, so I'm going to start with my background color, and I'm going to get clean edges. So I kind of use a small brush for small area, a large brush for large area. And I always paint my I paint all my layers first, and then in the next video, I'll show you how to work smarter, not harder, but how to then start in with your background. So while I'm in this area, I'm going to paint my sides. So I'd actually probably get a bigger brush to do this. Like I'd go and do all my edges. And of course newspaper, because I got a little paint on the back side. Okay, so you might, if you're rotating between brushes, then I would put one brush in the water while you're switching between brushes. You shouldn't have brushes sitting out and just drying, because it's a fish out of water and you're killing the brush. And if I get a bunch of terrible brushes in bad condition, you will pay for the destruction of your brushes, because for many of you got brand new brushes. We had to buy a lot of brushes this year, so every kid could have their own set, which we never have. We never have that. And so I am also trying to cover up my pencil lines. And then when I paint the petals, I'm going to overlap that edge slightly so that the two areas touch each other. Okay, so I'm actually, since I have more purple, I'm going to paint all purple, and I'll probably come back and then add a layer of pink into it. Or if I'm trying to do both, then I would kind of fade down, and then with my brush, I would kind of fade up a little bit because my color is going to transition. And then of course I'll do lots of brush strokes on top of that. I need a small brush to do this area though. This has tons of tiny little detail. So it kind of, especially if you're doing post-impressionism. If you're blending, obviously just one flat color, but I want it to transition from purple down into pink. So then down here, I would just paint my pink background. So start with your background colors. So after this, I would then paint my petals, and then I paint my center, and I paint the leaves, and then I would actually start my techniques. So you want to cover the canvas before you start. All right, good luck, have fun, put some music on, limit your distractions. I'll see you in the next video about starting in on techniques.